Welcome to NarrativeNook audio tales where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
Meanwhile, Lucian also saw the scandal on the internet. He could not help but frown with suspicion when he saw the way Aubrey looked in the photo. The day before, Lucian had received a few photos, but those were showing Aubrey flirting with a man in the bar. However, the photo in front of him was taken from a very intimate angle. He doubted anyone would have the capability to sneak into the hotel room and take a shot like that. There was only one possibility left. The photo was taken by the man who had fooled around with Aubrey that night at the bar. Who is he? What is his intention for posting such a photo? At that moment, Lucian had no answer. Furthermore, the matter had nothing to do with him, so he was not too concerned. Perhaps that was the handiwork of the enemies of the Pearson family who wanted to add fuel to the fire. Likewise, Roxanne was not interested in that scandal too. Shortly after Benny recovered from his injury, she sent the 3 children to kindergarten. She, on the other hand, went back to work at the research institute. It was a very busy time for her. As for those online comments, she had no time to read them. During lunchtime, she received a phone call from Madeline. The instant she answered the call, she heard her best friend's excited voice. Roxanne, go online now. Aubrey is famous again. The internet is going wild." Previously, Lucian had bribed the entertainment media outlets, so there had not been many scandals or news about any celebrities these days. The netizens were getting bored. Aubrey's photo was definitely what they needed at that moment. It was no less popular than the love stories of top celebrities. Roxanne could not help but frown when she heard what her best friend said. What happened? I have been very busy for the past 2 days and didn't take much notice of the news on the internet." Madeline became even more agitated when she realized Roxanne knew nothing about the matter. "You didn't know? Aubrey slept with God knows who. Now, the photo has been circulating all over the internet. The netizens are calling her a hussy." Because of the way Aubrey had made life so difficult for Roxanne in the past, it was only natural that Madeline would laugh at Aubrey's downfall. Is it? Roxanne was a little surprised. Why would she sleep with another man so soon? Is that what you want to ask? Madeline finished Roxanne's sentence as if she could read her mind. There was no response from Roxanne. In other words, Madeline was right. As far as Roxanne was concerned, she thought that Aubrey's feelings for Lucian were true even though she had done lots of wicked deeds in the past. Yet, she had slept with another man not long after Lucian called off the engagement. Roxanne could not help but feel that Aubrey was a liar. Madeline gloated and sneered. Don't ask me how I guess what you are thinking. Lots of netizens are asking the same questions. They come up with the conclusion that Aubrey is a promiscuous woman. That's her true nature. She was just very good at hiding it in the past. That's all. Roxanne frowned when she heard that. When she thought of the things Aubrey had done to the 3 children, she did not say anything in response. What goes around comes around. Madeline was happy to vent her frustration. She was about to continue when Roxanne cut her off. Madeline, I still have work to do. Talk to you later." With that, she ended the call. Roxanne did not wish to hear about Aubrey anymore. Now that she had gotten what she deserved, anything that happened to her had nothing to do with Roxanne anymore. Right now, the only thing she worried about was her work. Meanwhile, in the mansion in the suburb, Aubrey was reading the comments all over the internet. A crazed look was on her face as she shrieked, "Idiots! I will never, ever let you guys get away with this. I was wrong about that man. He said he knew me, so I thought he had nothing to do with Roxanne. But in hindsight, who else besides Roxanne would do something so wretched? Besides that batch, who else would benefit from me becoming a joke? Roxanne must be taking her revenge on me. It has to be her." Aubrey wanted to kill Roxanne. Her gaze hardened with unparalleled hatred. Anger clouded Aubrey's mind as she grabbed her handbag and stormed toward the door. The only thing on her mind was take revenge against Roxanne. Just as she flung the door open, she was halted by her father. Samuel's venomous glare burned into her skin. Have you no shame? How dare you still think about going out at a time like this? Do you think it's not embarrassing enough?" With each word he spoke, Samuel took another step closer to Aubrey, closing the gap between them. Traumatized by all his beatings, Aubrey instinctively flinched and moved away at each step he took until she was back to the wall. What's with this photo? Which lowly man did you defile yourself with?" Samuel interrogated with a stern voice. Fixating his scorching gaze on her, he commanded, "Tell him to get his ass here this instant. I want him to take responsibility for what he has done to you." When Aubrey heard what Samuel said, she was so exasperated that she laughed. Who do you think took the photo? Do you think he'll take responsibility if he didn't think twice about uploading those photos online? He wants me to be scorned by everyone. He wants everyone to think that I'm a promiscuous woman. No one in their right mind will marry me. Seeing the undisguised satire behind Aubrey's eyes, Samuel was so livid that his eyes turned bloodshot. Without missing a beat, he slapped Aubrey across the cheek, causing her to fall to the ground. You wretch. Don't you know how to behave well for even one day?" Cupping her throbbing cheek with her hand, Aubrey screamed to defend herself. I've been framed. It's all Roxanne's fault. That batch plotted against me. Why don't you take it out on her instead?" Samuel laid another heavy hand on her other cheek. Shut the hell up. How many times do I have to tell you not to provoke Roxanne? Why won't you ever listen?" Seeing her own father defending Roxanne, Aubrey trembled in anger. I didn't provoke her. She provoked me first this time. Don't you see that everyone online is scolding your own daughter? Are you blind?" Samuel raised his hand, wanting to give Aubrey another slap. Yet when he saw his handprints on her swollen cheeks, he clenched his fist and lowered his arm back to his side. His eyes were swirling with a mixture of disappointment as he looked at her. The Pearson family is in this situation because of you. Yet, you still don't know how to repent from your ways and still blame everything on Roxanne. Right now, you should be thinking about how to get Lucian to forgive you so that the Pearson family can hold our heads up in public again." Aubrey's face was etched with stubbornness. Lucian is blaming us because of that batch. As long as that wretched woman is gone, everything will be okay again. Samuel was so enraged that he almost got a heart attack. Leaning against the bed frame for support, he took a few deep breaths to calm himself down. After a good few minutes, he straightened himself and pointed at the door. Out. Out. Get lost. From this day onward, whatever you do has nothing to do with the Pearson family." Struggling onto her feet, Aubrey shot him a glare. I will make that batch pay for what she has done. That's a promise." With that, she strode out the front door without turning back. Samuel's eyes darkened when he heard the front door being slammed. Staggering briefly before steadying himself, he heaved a heavy sigh. Exhaustion and bitterness could be seen in his pained expression. He had put in so much effort for the Pearson family to be redeemed someday. He had been holding onto the hope that the sun would shine on them again. Alas, everything is ruined now. Outside the mansion, Aubrey got into the car. As she was driving, she dialed Frida's number. Frida had already seen the news on the internet. With the news trending all over, it was no surprise that Frida had come across the discussions and comments about the incident. Ever since she saw the photo, Frida had been feeling uneasy. She was the one who was out drinking with Aubrey last night. Not only so, but Aubrey was taken away by the man right under her nose. I didn't expect that man to pull a stunt like this. If Aubrey finds out, she'll never let me off the hook. Just as Frida was getting fearful, she received the expected phone call from Aubrey. Frida's heart almost jumped out of her throat. Staring at her ringing phone, she lost all the courage to pick up the call. Only after the phone stopped ringing did Frida heave a breath she did not know she was holding. However, before she could recover from the shock, Aubrey started calling her again. Frida could no longer ignore the call. Aubrey, she answered, unable to hide the guilt in her voice. What the hell happened last night? Aubrey's voice was filled with frustration. Terrified, Frida did not dare to tell the truth. Instead, she tried to test the waters. Don't you remember? You left with a guy. Aubrey was on the brink of losing her mind. If I remember, why on earth am I still asking you? Who is that man? Upon finding out that Aubrey had forgotten everything, Frida sighed in relief. I don't know. We both had too much to drink last night. I went to the toilet. By the time I came back, I saw you leaving with a guy. I called out to you, but you didn't stop. I tried to chase after you, but the bar was too crowded, so I lost you in the end. Having said that, she immediately apologized. I'm so sorry, Aubrey. I didn't know that something like this would happen. If I had known, I wouldn't have brought you out drinking. It's all my fault. If Aubrey found out that Frida had watched her being taken away by the man, she would have plotted to kill Frida. Naturally, Frida did not dare to admit the truth. When Aubrey heard Frida's answer, she huffed. I'm heading to the bar now. You're coming with me. We have to find the guy. Now. Frida's heart began to race. She was very reluctant to go with Aubrey. It has to be a trap set by Roxanne against me. Once I get my hands on that guy, I will make him reveal that batch's true colors to the entire world. Aubrey gritted her teeth. A murderous glint flashed across her eyes. In her mind, Roxanne had made her lose everything. She wanted to settle the accounts one at a time. Frida was hesitant. When she heard that Aubrey wanted to cause Roxanne trouble, she was even more reluctant to take part. However, Aubrey did not even give Frida a chance to refuse. I'll be waiting for you at the entrance of the bar. If you don't show up, I'll make sure you suffer the same fate I did. With that, Aubrey hung up the phone right away. Biting her lip in frustration, Frida eventually dragged herself to the bar. By the time she arrived at the entrance of the bar, Aubrey was already waiting for her. When Frida saw the two swollen hand marks on each side of Aubrey's cheeks, she could not help but shudder. Feeling Frida's sympathetic gaze on her, Aubrey roared in fury. What are you looking at? It's all that batch's fault. Frida averted her eyes awkwardly, not daring to go against Aubrey's command. She quickly changed the topic. Let's go inside. I've already informed the person in charge. Aubrey snorted before following Frida inside the bar with a grim expression. As she strode into the bar, a hostile aura surrounded her. Two little shits. I will not let them get away with this. Meanwhile, in the Farwell residence, Sonia felt nauseous upon seeing the photo being shared all over the internet. In the past, Aubrey had told Sonia time and time again that she was in love with Lucian. It had only been a few days since the two families had called off the engagement. Sonia was surprised and disgusted when she saw that Aubrey had already checked into a room with another man. Aubrey even went as far as making love with him as if nothing has happened. She must have done so willingly. This time, someone took a photo and made it viral. Who knows whether or not she had been unfaithful during all those years of her engagement with Lucian. Her so-called love for Lucian was nothing but a lie. At the thought of herself being tricked by Aubrey, Sonia could not help but feel humiliated. All of a sudden, the support Sonia had shown Aubrey all those years seemed like a waste of time. If she had allowed someone like Aubrey to be married into the Farwell family, people would have thought she was a fool. Just as her blood began to boil, Sonia received a call from Gina. Sonia rejected the call without hesitation. What a wretched woman. How dare she call me at a time like this? How shameless. Not wanting to see anything related to the Pearson, Sonia tossed her phone aside out of fury. Out of sight, out of mind. From this day onward, I will no longer be associated with the Pearson. Whatever happens to that family will be none of my concern. You've finally realized the things Aubrey has done now, haven't you? Just then, Elias came down the stairs. It only took him 1 second to figure out what was going on based on Sonia's expression. Do you still think that everything Aubrey had done in the past was because Lucian refused to marry her? Sonia was already feeling awful. When she heard his question, her face reddened in anger and embarrassment. How would I know that she's such a good actress? She lied to me for so many years. Serves her right to have such an ending today. I've told you not to interfere too much in Lucian's private life, especially when it comes to romance. He's a grown man. He can handle his own affairs, Elias advised her sincerely. No matter what Sonia's intention was, Elias truly believed that they, as parents, should not meddle with their children's life. Begrudgingly, Sonia retorted, I just want the best for him. Do you think I'd have cared if it was anyone else? Knowing that he could not change her mind, Elias did not continue to press on the subject. Then I believe you know now that Aubrey is not the best candidate for the title Mrs. Farwell? Sonia's expression darkened as she understood what he was implying. Just because Aubrey is unfit doesn't mean that Roxanne is. She is still unfit to marry Lucian. Sonia's eyes were filled with disdain. Aubrey might be sleeping around, but at least she didn't get pregnant. What about Roxanne? Her 2 children are about the same age as Essie. That means that she had slept with other men ever since she left the country. Now she plans to bring the 2 children into our family. If I agree to it, others will see our family as a joke. Even though Lucian had told the public that the children were his, the truth would be revealed eventually. Nothing could be hidden forever. Sonia did not want to become a laughingstock when the time came. Seeing that Sonia was persistent, Elias could only heave a heavy sigh. Just think about it again, okay? We're not young anymore. Wouldn't it be nice if we just focus on our own lives? Why do you insist on meddling with their affairs? Even if what you fear becomes a reality in the future, you and I will no longer be in charge of the Farwell family. What's there to worry about? Having said that, he patted Sonia's shoulder gently before turning around and returning upstairs. The backlash online came fast and furious, but died down just as quickly, and it only took a few days before everyone's focus shifted to other news. Nonetheless, Aubrey was not about to let the matter slide just like that. She was determined to make her saboteur pay. She and Frida spent a whole day at the bar watching the surveillance footage, yet failed to find a shot of the culprit's face. They had no way of ascertaining the person's identity. Still feeling annoyed after getting home, Aubrey contacted Ophelia immediately. I may not be able to exact revenge on Roxanne right now because I don't know who that guy is, but I can always follow the original plan and teach Roxanne a lesson. Ophelia had been waiting to hear from Aubrey at the hotel for several days. She had also seen the comments online over the past couple of days. With Aubrey's character, there's no way she'd let the person who leaked the photos get away with it. However, I still haven't heard from her after so many days. She's probably busy looking for the culprit and doesn't have time to talk to me. Just as she was about to turn in for the night, she suddenly received a call from Aubrey. Quickly answering her phone, she said, "Oh, what is it, Aubrey? What can I do to help?" In an icy tone, Aubrey replied, "Should go to Roxanne as we originally planned. That batch dared to plot against me, so I'll make her regret it." Ophelia was dumbfounded when she heard that. Are you saying the backlash over the past 2 days was Roxanne's doing? What's the matter? Don't you believe me? I've told you before. That batch is capable of all sorts of dirty tricks. She's trying to get back at me. Aubrey hissed through clenched teeth. In truth, Ophelia did not know much about Roxanne. All she had heard from Aubrey was that Roxanne had been responsible for ruining Aubrey's life of luxury. I never thought she'd resort to such despicable measures. As Aubrey's best friend, naturally, she felt angry and agreed immediately. Calm down. Don't let your anger affect your health. I'll go look for her at once. Aubrey took 2 deep breaths. Thinking about the trouble Roxanne was about to encounter, she finally felt a little more at ease. After ending the call, Ophelia wasted no time setting off and headed straight for Roxanne's research institute, guessing that the latter would be working there at that hour. She spent a long time trying to find Roxanne's car in front of the research institute, but to no avail. Ophelia decided to switch locations and go to Roxanne's house instead, but ended up getting stopped at the residential area entrance. She had no choice but to turn back home and look for another opportunity. A Bentley slowly drove up right as she was leaving the residential area. Lucian had gotten a clear look at her face and recognized that she was the children's teacher who had resigned just 2 days ago. What's she doing here? Benny's injury has almost completely healed, so it doesn't make sense that she'd come to check in on him. He sensed something amiss yet did not want to alert the enemy, so he called Caden and instructed him to have someone follow Ophelia, resolved to find out what she had up her sleeve. After settling that, he drove the Bentley into the residential area and pulled up in front of Roxanne's house. All 3 children were sitting in the living room, bored out of their minds. As always, Benny was the one who got up to see who it was when the doorbell rang, and his eyes lit up the moment he saw the person standing at the door. Mr. Farwell. Archie's and Estella's expressions shifted slightly. Almost immediately, they jumped up from the couch and sprinted to the door with anticipation written all over their faces. Benny opened the door, and Lucian immediately saw the 3 children waiting to greet him at the door. Daddy. Mr. Farwell. They sounded aggrieved and gazed at him as though he was their savior. Lucian could not resist ruffling their hair affectionately at the sight of their adorable pouting faces. Then he looked up and cast his gaze around the living room. Where's your mommy? It's the weekend, so she should be home. Mommy's working overtime. She has already been working late the past few days. We've had to stay home alone, and it's so boring. Benny whined, and Archie and Estella nodded in agreement. Lucian's brows drew together slightly when he heard their complaints. No wonder she sounded so tired whenever I called her the last 2 days. I thought she was exhausted from looking after these 3 little tykes and purposely came over to take them out for a treat. However, it turns out it's because she has been working. Seeing how dispirited the children looked, he suggested, why don't I take you guys out to play? Where would you like to go? The trip perked up instantly at his words and began chattering away, discussing where they wanted to go. I want to watch a movie. Estella was the first to raise her hand. I saw that there's a new fairy tale movie and I really want to watch it. But Mommy has been so busy lately. Shall we want to go to the amusement park? Archie and Benny said at the same time. The pair had been so bored recently and just wanted to go out and have fun. After hearing Estella's suggestion, however, they compromised and said, all right then. Let's go and watch a movie. Grinning, Lucian pinched their cheeks gently and replied, we'll go to both. We'll visit the amusement park first, then catch a movie on the way back. Really? Benny asked, practically bursting with joy. Lucian nodded. We'll probably only be able to get movie tickets for tonight if we buy now anyway. Archie was also excited for a brief moment. Then, something suddenly seemed to occur to him, and he asked hesitantly, if we go out, what about Mommy? I'll let her know. Lucian reassured him with a smile. And, if it's possible, I hope she'll join us. After saying that, Lucian took out his phone in front of the children and called Roxanne immediately, but there was no answer. The same thing happened even after 3 or 4 tries. He frowned. Taking in the children's cautiously expectant expressions, he said in a low voice, in that case, I'll take you 3 out today first. We can take your mommy next time. Archie, Benny, and Estella hesitated briefly before nodding. Okay. After their discussion, Lucian sent Roxanne a text message informing her that he had taken the children out and asked her to give him a call when she was not busy. Then, he led the children out of the house and over to his car. Lucian thought of something just before starting the car. Glancing at the kids in the rear passenger seat, he said, Hey Archie, Benny, you have to address me as Daddy when we're outside, okay? He had already issued a public statement about the pair's relationship to him, so if anyone overheard them still addressing him as Mr. Farwell, he was worried it would invite unnecessary trouble. Benny's eyes shone with joy, and he nodded emphatically. Sure. I'll remember that. Lucian turned toward Archie. A faint smile tugged at the corner of the latter's lips, and he nodded obediently. I got it. The kids were over the moon, because that was the first time Lucian brought them out. That was especially the case for Benny, as he was basically calling Lucian a daddy very naturally at that point. Lucian let them have fun in the amusement park until the sky went dark before bringing them to the movie theater. When they were watching the movie, Lucian's phone suddenly vibrated. He took a glance at it and saw that it was a call from Roxanne. Lucian gently told the kids to wait for him and went out to answer his phone. The moment the call went through, he heard Roxanne asking in an anxious tone, "Hey, where are you? I just got home, and the kids are gone. Have they gone to look for you?" In the mansion, Roxanne was opening door after door to make sure the kids weren't hiding in one of those rooms. She had been busy working overtime for the past few days and neglected the kids. However, she also noticed how sluggish the kids had been over the past few days. She had planned to take the next day off and bring the kids out to have some fun. To her surprise, she got home that evening to find that the kids were all missing. Upon recalling what the kids had done in the past, Roxanne was hoping that they had gone to look for Lucian. That was why she had called him right away. Lucian's heart broke when he heard Roxanne's uneasy tone. Frowning helplessly, he answered, I had time today, so I brought them out because they wanted to have some fun." Roxanne let out a sigh of relief when she heard those words. Why didn't you inform me? I was worried sick when I got home," as she grumbled. Tenderness filled Lucian's eyes when he heard Roxanne speaking in a softer tone. I called you a few times, but you didn't answer your phone, so I sent you a text. Perhaps you missed it because you had your hands full, he said innocently. Roxanne felt guilty when Lucian pointed out the fact that she had been busy. Oh, is it? Let me check. With that, she checked her unanswered message and call log on her phone. True enough, she had received a few missed calls and a text from Lucian. Seeing that, Roxanne felt even more guilty. Oh, you did. I was too busy and just saw your missed calls and text. I'm sorry for accusing you wrongly, she said sheepishly. Lucian's eyes darkened. It's all right. I brought the kids to watch a movie. After this, I'll send them home. If you're tired, I can grab some food on the way back. That's not necessary. I'm free, so I'll cook and wait for you guys to come back, Roxanne said apologetically. Lucian grunted in acknowledgement. He was worried about leaving the kids in the movie hall, so he hung up the phone and went back in. By then, the movie was finishing. The kids were so focused on the movie that they didn't even realize Lucian had returned. After the movie ended, Benny turned to Lucian and called out casually, Daddy." Lucian froze for a moment before regaining his senses. With a smile, he said, Okay. We should be heading back now. Your mommy is waiting." The kids were thrilled when they heard that Roxanne was waiting for them at home. "We've been having fun the entire day, and we get to see mommy and eat the food she makes when we go back. That's the best news we can get. Furthermore, we spent the entire day with Daddy." The warmth in Lucian's eyes was apparent when he saw how happy the kids were. Lucian was most probably influenced by the kids' mood because even he was feeling excited when they were on their way home. When the four of them arrived home, Roxanne was already done preparing dinner, and she was resting on the couch. Upon hearing noises at the door, she woke up immediately and went to open the door. Mommy." The kids rushed toward her and hugged her legs. Roxanne lowered her gaze and patted their heads with a smile on her face. Did you guys have fun today?" Benny nodded fervently before turning back to look at Lucian with his pair of bright eyes. Yes. Daddy brought us to the amusement park, and we watched a movie." Roxanne smiled when she heard the joy in Benny's voice. She only realized how Benny had addressed Lucian a few seconds later. When she did, the smile on her face froze. Instead of asking Benny what was going on, she gave Lucian an inquisitive glance. Noticing that, Lucian explained matter-of-factly, I told them to address me so when we're in the public. After all, I've already made it known to the public. If others were to hear them addressing me another way, it would be troublesome. A weird look flashed across Roxanne's eyes when she heard that. She patted the kids' heads and kept number. It's a matter of time before they address Lucian as a daddy. That's something I have to accept. I just hope the kids won't blame me after they find out about their backgrounds. Archie sensed the awkward atmosphere and broke the silence by saying, Mommy, I'm starving. Roxanne came back to her senses and answered, let's eat. Go and wash your hands, okay? I'll heat up the food. The kids nodded obediently, took off their shoes, and entered the house. Lucian washed his hands first and followed Roxanne into the kitchen. His presence was just impossible to ignore, and it led to Roxanne recalling the kiss they had shared at that exact spot. Her body stiffened instantly. I'm sorry. I should have checked you before telling the kids to address me so. Lucian's deep voice rang out from behind her. Roxanne halted in her tracks and lowered her gaze to hide her awkwardness. She calmed herself down and uttered flatly, It's all right. You're right. They should address you so in public. With that, Roxanne quickly changed the topic because she was afraid that Lucian would bring up Archie's and Benny's backgrounds. The food is ready. Let's eat. Lucian knew she was avoiding the topic, so he didn't pursue the matter. Instead, he helped her bring the dishes out. By then, the kids were already sitting at the dining table. They had even sat on one side so that their parents could sit next to each other on the opposite side of the table. While Lucian had taken his seat in a calm manner, Roxanne hesitated for a moment before she eventually sat down next to him. During dinner, Roxanne was constantly spacing out because of how Benny had addressed Lucian. Besides, she had been kept busy at work for the past couple of days. She only snapped out of her reverie when she saw a peeled prawn in her bowl. Have you been tiring yourself out for the past couple of days? Lucian's heart wrenched in pain. Roxanne pulled herself together and smiled. Infine. I'm just going to be busy for the time being. With that, she wanted to serve the kids some food. However, she saw that the kids' plates were already filled up, so she instantly shifted her gaze toward Lucian. At that moment, he was still peeling prawns, and he hadn't had time to eat his dinner. Roxanne felt touched by what she saw, so she thanked Lucian softly. In response, Lucian served her another peeled prawn. After dinner, the kids tactfully went upstairs and gave their parents some privacy. Roxanne cleared the dining table, and when she was about to do the dishes, Lucian held her hand and pushed her to the side. Since you're tired, go outside and get some rest. With that, Lucian rolled up his sleeves and started washing the dishes. Although that wasn't the first time Roxanne had seen Lucian do that, she was still surprised by what she saw. If Lucian had treated me this way 6 years ago, would we be a happy family by now? Seeing that Roxanne was still there, Lucian started making small talk. Where's Lisa? Why is she not here? Roxanne snapped back to reality and answered, she hasn't been feeling well, so I told her to rest. Then I'll look for a housekeeper to help you guys at home. Roxanne shook her head in response. There's no need for that. I can't trust anybody else now. Once I'm done with what I'm busy with, I'll have the time to take care of the kids. While talking, Roxanne yawned. Lucian turned back to look at her before picking up his pace to finish doing the dishes. With the dishes done, he brought her out of the kitchen. Roxanne was feeling groggy, so she followed him to the couch and sat down. Lucian massaged her temples and said, must you keep working with the Damaris family? Since you're so overworked, perhaps you should cancel the collaboration. If you wish to make a living in Chronicles, I can help you. However, she couldn't help but frown when she heard Lucian's suggestion. With a straight face, she uttered, we've already signed the contract. How can I just cancel it? I'll pay the termination fee for you, Lucian answered in a deep voice. It's not that simple. It's important that I develop the drug. There's too little anti-cancer medication in the local market. If I can develop a new drug, I'm certain I can save a lot of lives. Roxanne smiled and shook her head. Prior to this, I was adamant about working with the Demoris family because I wanted their ancient medicine books. Now, however, I think it's more important for me to treat more diseases and help more people. With a solemn look in her eyes, she added, I've been a doctor for so many years, and I've seen too many patients who were tortured to death by diseases, especially cancer. It's an utter nightmare. Patients are suffering every day, and there's no cure for them. They can't do anything but wait for their time to end. As they approach the later stages of the disease, their lives are basically hell. I want that to end because I've seen enough of it. The look in Lucian's eyes softened up after he listened to Roxanne. I understand how you feel. Although I'm exhausted, I think it's all going to be worth it. Roxanne let out a sigh. Still massaging her temples, Lucian said, I know you want to help people, but you need to take care of yourself as well. If you keep going on like this, you're going to get sick. If that happens, won't your research be in vain? Roxanne nodded, indicating that she knew what she was doing. I'm a doctor, so I know my body well. Don't worry. Lucian didn't respond to that. Instead, he just kept looking at her. I understand her feelings, but how can I not worry about her? The two of them didn't continue talking after that, and Lucian had moved from massaging her temples to massaging her shoulders. When he was moving his hands, he either intentionally or accidentally brushed his thumbs across her neck. Roxanne was caught off guard, and her body froze when she suddenly felt as though an electric current had coursed through her. In the next second, Lucian was already massaging her shoulders. How are you feeling? Am I pressing too hard? He asked softly. Roxanne turned around to meet Lucian's gentle gaze. She was startled, so she immediately retracted her eyes and nodded. It's fine. Little did she know Lucian wasn't planning to let go of her just yet. I don't know which acupuncture point can help you relax. How about you teach me? As he was talking, he loosened his grips. In a flash, the atmosphere became ambiguous. Roxanne feigned calmness and cleared her throat. Why would you want to know that? It's not like you can massage yourself. In a natural tone, Lucian answered, well, I can help you de-stress if you ever get this tired again. Roxanne's eyes flickered, and she felt her heart skip a beat when she heard those words. Besides, I don't think I'll be massaging myself. If both of us ever have our hands full at the same time, one of us ought to take some time off. Otherwise, who's going to take care of the kids? Lucian added. In other words, he was suggesting Roxanne massage him the next time he needed it. Lucian spoke so naturally that Roxanne could imagine the both of them massaging each other in the future. In fact, she was even starting to feel it wasn't too late for Lucian to care for her. When Roxanne realized what was going through her own mind, she snapped back to her senses, and she instinctively moved her body a little. However, she couldn't bear to move away because she had been overwhelmed by exhaustion lately. Besides, Lucian was using just the right amount of strength when he was massaging her. After a moment of hesitation, Roxanne remained sitting still. Some other day perhaps? I'm too tired today. Needless to say, Lucian noticed her hesitation. As he was wondering what she was thinking, his grip loosened up slightly. Feeling displeased, Roxanne held his wrist and said coyly, harder. Lucian's eyes darkened when he saw Roxanne holding his wrist. It's obvious that she was rejecting me purely because she was tired. She's not rejecting me entirely. Lucian was looking at her intently from behind. Although he could only see the back of her fair neck, he felt a lump forming in his throat. Suddenly, he tightened his grip on her shoulders and held her tight. Roxanne frowned slightly and turned around, wanting to question him. All of a sudden, she felt his hot breaths on her ear. In the next second, he was already kissing the back of her neck. Roxanne clenched her fists, which were placed on her knees, and she kept her body slightly sideways. Too afraid to move a muscle, she asked, Lucian, what? The second she opened her mouth, she felt Lucian kissing and nibbling on her earlobe. At that very moment, Roxanne felt her body heating up, and the exposed parts of her body turned pink. Lucian grabbed her chin and turned the stunned Roxanne to an angle to allow himself to go in for a kiss.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.